Debaser is the first Pixies song I think I ever heard. And I don't know. I just feel like that one it sums up the vibe of the Pixies.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like if somebody listens to that album, they'd get like a better idea of who I am as a person.
Sure. Are you also on the soundtrack to Skate 3? Because that was like I was like, oh yeah. I was like, just like imagine myself doing like 360 Christ airs to that song. I'm like, yeah. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Full Spin Club. My name is David Stewart. I'm the host of this online album listening club where we get to know people via their favorite records. Today, my guest is Louisville comedian Lena Beamish.
Hello.
So today, before we get into like what album or anything, which you probably saw in the title because I titled them appropriately. Let's go through, if you've never been here before, there are three main segments to this show. We talk to our guest about On a Pedestal, which is the highlights of the record. There's On a Spit or Disc Course, because I'm in the middle of renaming this segment, and I have not decided which. And then there is On a Turntable, where we turn and talk to the guest a little bit more about their relationship with the album and get to know them a little better via the album as a backdrop. So without further ado, Lena, tell the people what album you brought to the club today.
I picked Doolittle by the Pixies.
Heck yeah. This is actually my first introduction to a full Pixies album.
Okay.
My knowledge of them beforehand was like Where Is My Mind?
Yeah.
Which is
that's usually
everybody's.
Sure,
right?
yeah. Yeah.
So, and like that's like kind of the fun of doing this show is that I found that like as soon as I relinquished control over being like, I want to assign you an album and just started being like, just bring me your favorite, we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Is that it's absolutely forced me to sit down and like listen to full albums. And I do love that.
Yeah.
And hopefully everyone who watches like gives them all a listen after the fact as well.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to dive in and talk to you about this. I do have a pre-segment called Liner Notes.
Okay.
And Liner Notes is the simple question, why? So why this album, and why would you want to come and talk about it?
So it's probably my second favorite album of all time.
What's number one?
Number one was Golden Age of the Wireless by Thomas Dolby, which I think was also on the list.
Probably on the list. Yeah.
But you know, I was trying to pick a variety of things because nobody listens to Thomas
To be
Dolby.
candid with you, I just got through a run of like doing the Grateful Dead and then John Prine, and I'm like, okay, I need to do something that I resonate with.
Yeah,
and the Pixies is more my vibe.
Yeah,
and I was like, all right, we're doing the Pixies
for sure. I'm not mad about it.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's one of my favorite albums of all time. And like the Pixies have been consistently like they were my favorite band when I was a teenager. They're still one of my favorite bands. And also, I don't know if anyone's brought this up before on the podcast, but in having to pick an album, I realized that like because of streaming, there are a handful of albums where I listen to the whole album, but these days it's so rare.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, what is Spotify recommending? And I'll have like, 17 like Mitski songs saved, but not one Mitski album that I listened to start to finish.
Right.
So to me, it's still from that era of my life when I was like torrenting an entire album and sitting down at the computer at night and listening to it.
It's not lost on me that it's like a difficult thing to bring to the club because like if someone asks me like, what's your favorite album? I'm like, I
can give you 12 favorite songs.
Yeah. Or like even just like, my favorite album rotates, like, cause like I'm a learning, growing human being.
Sure.
And so like I definitely get the struggle.
Yeah.
But there was like a long time ago where I stopped. Like it was like, all right, this is gonna sound terrible. So everyone hang up. It was like where I stopped reading. I was like, and I still read, kind of, but like where I started treating albums like novels, where it was like I'm interested in this thing, so I'm gonna like dive into it.
Yeah.
Like head on and see what's up. And so that was kind of like the genesis of this. Also, like, I think the art of the album is kind of lost because of streaming.
Yeah.
And so it's been fascinating to see who has like held up the mantle as the album as like a piece of work versus like who is specifically making music to exist in the streaming space.
Yeah.
Drake. And so like it's been a fascinating journey.
Yeah.
So I'm stoked about that though. So why this album though, like specifically?
This one, I liked. It had the highest number of songs that I liked out of all the Pixies albums. I also just feel like, because Where Is My Mind Where Is My Mind isn't on this one. It's on.
No, it's on the
Surfer
one
Rosa.
previous to it. Yeah.
Okay. To me, like, Debaser is the first Pixies song I think I ever heard. I don't know. I just feel like that one it sums up the vibe of the Pixies.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like if somebody listens to that album, they'd get like a better idea of who I am as a person.
Sure. Are you also on the soundtrack to Skate 3? Because that was like I was like, oh yeah. I was like, just like imagine myself doing like 360 Christ airs to that song. I'm like, yeah.
That sounds fun, but no.
Cool, man. Heck yeah. So let's get into our first segment here on a Pedestal, where we talk about the highlights. So when I'm sharing music, I often have like ulterior motives in mind, like where I'm like, I'm sharing music and I'm like, I want you to pick up on a certain thing, like, because like I'm usually rooting for something, because like I have like a very intimate relationship with the albums that I love, and I'm like, when I'm sharing music, I'm like, this is a piece of me, and so like I often have like that ulterior motive, like I hope you pick up on this one thing. Yeah. Is there anything on this album that you love so much that you like hope people pick up on?
I can't think of like a specific like singular thing that I would want people to pick up on, but I guess just like I feel like this album paints a specific picture of like a specific era in music and just like pop culture in general.
Yeah.
Like it's very God, I can't remember what year it came out. Did it come out in the late 80s?
Like 89.
Okay, because I'm thinking like early 90s, like, you know, like Gen X indie film kind of vibes. And I spent a lot of my teenage years listening to the Pixies and watching Quentin Tarantino movies.
Sure.
And that was like that was my whole
That's my whole
teenage
vibe.
Yeah. And I feel like there's a weird synchronicity there of just like quiet and loud and
yeah.
I don't know. I just so yeah, and the lyrics in particular are very weird in a Pixie song. The music structurally, you know, it's not like standard pop music kind of structure. I just feel like it's a bunch of like weird elements that come together to work really well.
Yeah. So I actually picked up on a lot of that, just with different words, but like we're pretty much on the same page. So like I noticed that like they're incredibly influential.
Yes.
So like it's like, yeah, this is definitely the vibe of the times. Like correct.
Yeah.
Because like, and they're influential even after the fact. So like I actually picked these 4 albums specifically because like 1, I love The Strokes, 2, I love Pup.
Yeah.
But like I was like, these bands for sure have picked up something from the Pixies along the way. That's sort of like New York garage rock sort of sound.
Yeah.
Carl Spaeth is gonna hate this, but
I remember seeing him getting mad about this.
Oh yeah, don't worry, he's gonna hate this. But like, I'm also gonna bring in his album that he talked about on his episode. The Icarus Line is the band, and I was like, this sounds like incredibly similar to the Icarus Line.
Yeah.
Sorry, Carl. Although I'm not. You're so mean to me. So yeah, like they were incredibly influential. The like poetic and cryptic lyrics, like you mentioned, is like the lyrics don't make a ton of sense.
Yeah.
But like neither did the Icarus lines, Carl. You don't watch this. You made that so clear. You made that so clear. So like cryptic lyrics, like where like it's like one of those bands that's like where the meaning of the lyrics feels like it's second hat to the sound of the lyric coming out of their mouth.
Yeah.
And then finally, it's the chaotic but resonant.
Yeah.
Where you're like, yeah, absolutely. Like sometimes it's like it's all like a cacophony, but somehow the cacophony makes sense.
Yeah.
Not dissimilar to Tool and their weird time signatures.
Yeah, I can see that.
But like heavier and more angry about the existential dread of not doing mushrooms. But like, or DMT. But like, I love Tool. I talked about them more often than I feel like I should. So that's what I picked up on throughout like my listens, because I think I gave it like 3 good listens. Because again, it was like I'm not a Pixie head,
right?
Like, so like, and like that's what makes this show kind of difficult sometimes. Is like I want to be like, I want to be like an expert immediately, but it's like really hard to be.
Yeah.
So you're gonna be carrying us a little bit as our resident Pixie expert in this room right now.
Okay.
So okay, like my next question for On Pedestal is like, what are your top 3 songs from the record?
It's definitely Debaser and Hey, and probably I would say Dead. Is it just called Dead?
I think it might. Yes.
Okay.
Like you're also welcome to look at the track listing.
I just feel like a
No.
dingus getting out my phone.
No, it's perfectly acceptable here. It's not like stand up where you got to if you look at your notes.
What do I want to talk about?
Oh, classic. What jokes do I want to do tonight? Get a look behind the curtain. Is it Callie Bakken that has that bit where she's like, this isn't even my notes, it's just a drawing of a penis?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's we used to have a guy who would he has a mullet, and he's like, these aren't my notes, these are just Kid Rock lyrics.
Classic Louisville.
Yep. All right, yeah, it's Dead. Dead is the name of the song.
Yeah.
I get it confused with Tame sometimes, but yeah, I would say Debaser, Dead, and Hey.
Yeah.
Probably my top 3.
My top 3 were Debaser as well. One, because of the nostalgia rush from like, I was like, Skate 3. I miss you. Skate 4 is probably going to be the thing that gets me to buy another console.
Nice.
Everyone's like, that's going to be me for Grand Theft Auto 6. And I'm like, no, I'm a big Skate guy. If they didn't nuke Guitar Hero, same thing.
Yeah.
But they absolutely ruined that line of games.
Yeah.
But my second one was Wave of Mutilation.
That's a great one.
Yeah. And then my last one was La La Love You.
That's also classic.
Yeah. So what makes those 3 your favorite?
Okay, so Debaser was, like I said, I think the first Pixie song I ever heard. And I am constantly trying to find new music that I like, even now, and especially when I was younger. And I used to be obsessed. Well, I mean, I'm still obsessed with the Kids in the Hall, the sketch show. And so I remember, like, I was on a message board for Kids in the Hall. This is how long ago this was. And I was asking, like, what kind of music that the Kids in the Hall were into. And because also the soundtrack to the Kids in the Hall movie, I really liked it. So I was like, where can I get other stuff like this? And people in the comments, someone was like, well, Kevin McDonald is a big fan of the Pixies. And I was like, I've never heard of the Pixies. What is that? And so I think I torrented. It was like on Kazaa or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
That's how long ago this was. Debaser by the Pixies. And I just remember it was like middle of the night. I was like 14 or something. Put my headphones on and I pressed play, and I was like, this is the greatest song I've ever heard in my whole life.
Yeah.
Like, it was just like probably the biggest dopamine hit I've ever had in my whole life. And I was like, this is the most beautiful music.
It's like total chaos.
Yeah.
Like, it's wonderful.
So yeah, that one is just like, I love it regardless. And also, I don't know if you know this, that it's about the movie Un Chien Andalou?
No.
Okay.
I'm not even sure that what you just spoke were words.
I forget what language it is. It's a Louis Buñuel film. Buñuel. I don't know if you, okay. And so like the lyrics in Debaser are, I am un chin Andalusia.
Okay.
And it's an Andalusian dog is what it means.
I was just about to, it's like, so what does he say?
Yeah.
Like that was going to be my next question. It was like, I'm with it.
Yeah.
I love it.
So the lyrics are, it's a weird short film, and it's literally just like a scene of like a guy. It's from like the 1920s of a guy like slicing open a woman's eyeball, and
Totally.
it's a cow eyeball. And then I think she like runs into a room and hides from somebody, and there's like ants crawling on her hand, and there's a man stalking her or something. It's just one of those weird,
It's like
film.
Gabe from The Office, like with his like weird horror
Yes.
sensational, whatever he calls it.
So yeah, that's what the lyrics are about, like slicing up eyeballs. Got me a movie. I forget what he says something about his hand, I think the ants on his hand, I don't remember.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just and the movie I think was written by Salvador Dali,
Fascinating,
something like that. It's some weird of Louis Buñuel and Salvador Dali, and so that's what the song is about. And so at the time I was also a huge film nerd.
Sure.
So then I looked into that film and watched it, and when they do their live show, the Pixies, they'll play it during when they play Debaser. So yeah, it was just, I don't know. It was just a lot of things I liked all at once.
Do you ever miss the multimedia nature of art?
Yes.
Because like there's like a part of me
Definitely.
as you're like describing all of this, like, man, this does sound like a cool era to exist in. Because like I am so online these days that like I'm like, God, dude, this is such trash. I was just scrolling on my phone because it, like, for those who are unaware, today is Inauguration Day, so obviously it's a good day to be scrolling. And there was just like this one thing, and I know exactly why they're doing it. It's to make the video over a minute, so it's monetized.
So they get your engagement for,
And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And so like, it's like, and just like having that experience right before you got here, and then you talking about like the actual multimedia, like coolness of being like, I'm inspired by this movie to write a song, and like the person who made the movie was inspired by Salvador Dali and was like, hey man, I want to make this movie with you, and Salvador is like, yeah, fuck yeah, look at my mustache, and then like, and then like they like go do the thing. He's like, have you seen the clocks melting? I don't know, but or is that Picasso? I don't know.
No, that's Dali.
Okay.
I think. But then you said Picasso, and now I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's Salvador Dali.
Anyway, everybody, I went to 1 year of art school, so like let's cool it with ripping me up in the comments, or we just talked about engagement. It's fine. But so yeah, I'm like, tangent aside, Debaser is a great song.
Yeah.
And I'm happy that you know what they're talking about, because I was like, vibes only.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I forget, like I think La La Love You, yeah, just Wave Mutilation. Again, I wish I were more versed. I gave it 3 solid listens, as I do everything, like, while I'm, like, writing these episodes and whatnot.
Yeah.
But, like, I wish I were more versed in, like, what really stood out to me and made it jump.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I'm lost, because I actually have notes for, like, my next question, which is, like, what is your peak moment of the record? Like, what makes this thing, like, what keeps you coming back? What's the thing that, is just, like, fuck yeah, like every time?
Gosh, I think, to me, part of the mark of like a great album, or an album I want to listen to, is one that like grabs you at the beginning and then just sort of like keeps going until you don't realize there's like no lulls in it until you get to the end and you're like, okay, cool. They're like, because even with songs that I love, sometimes it'll get to like the bridge and I'm like, yeah, I'm good. Like if I have a second to think about it, I'm just like, that's enough. We can move on.
I've had enough.
Yeah. And with this album, there's a couple songs I like less than the others, but overall, because I even went back and listened to it a couple days ago, just as a whole album, because like we were talking about, I don't listen to whole albums very often. And I was like, oh, at no point have I been like, what's the next song? I hope the next, because even when I'm listening to an album I love, sometimes you'll hit that song where you're like, what's the next song? I hope it's worth waiting through this.
Yeah.
And I didn't really have that with this. I definitely think, let me look at the song order. Because like, Hey is third? It's the third to last song. And that one's probably my second favorite song after Debaser. And so it's like the goal is to get to that point. Like when you're watching a movie and you're like, oh, I can't wait for this scene. It's like, that's what I'm waiting for. But I'm enjoying the ride up until that point. And I don't know, I feel like it's just got a good kind of like wave pattern of like, stuff that's grabbing me.
And like lulls.
And keeping me going and listening to it.
Mine is like, because like for peak moments for me, like on records that are newer to me than others, they like, it's like whatever makes me grab and like look at what the title is on my phone. Because like I'm usually like
if I look to save it or whatever, then I'm like, this is a good song.
Yeah, like because like I'll be doing stuff, I'll be cleaning, I'll be like like doing, because like music's a very passive activity in my life. Like I'm like at the gym, I'm like cleaning, whatever. Yeah. And if it makes me stop and be like, what's this one? Like that's the peak moment usually. Yeah. And this one was specifically the turn in Mr. Greaves. I think that's what's it.
Oh yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah. So like, because it starts almost to the point where it's like, I'm not sure I'm gonna like this, and then like the turn happens, and you're like, this is tight. Yeah. You know who's actually a really like wild perpetrator of that? Taylor Swift.
Oh yeah.
There are so many songs where the start, and I'm like, this is gonna be fucking ass. Yeah. And then it turns, and I'm like, this chorus is actually opening my soul. And that sucks. Yeah. Because like I don't want to, but scientifically I'm compelled to. Yeah. She's like the wild perpetrator of like shitty intros into like banging choruses. But my peak moment is the turn in Mr. Greaves.
It's a good one.
Greaves.
It's Mr. Greaves.
Thank God, because my handwriting is such terrible stuff. So, okay, any other highlights you want to get into before we move on to the next segment?
No, I think. Well,
you feel well covered? Yeah. Feel like we've like sang its praises enough?
You bringing up Mr. Greaves made me realize that there is sort of like a theatrical element to a lot of the stuff where it's like Mr. Greaves as a song. It has that like weird intro and then it kicks in, and it's almost like a play or even like a carnival sideshow barker where it's like, here's I'm introducing the song and now here's the song.
And then bang. And it's like meant to be, it feels intentional that it's meant to like really like make you buy weird. In.
Yes.
And like that reminds me of like some worship music is like actually scientifically designed to do that for people in the congregation.
I can see that, yeah.
Which is wild.
Yeah.
There was like a TikTok or like a Instagram reel or something a while ago where like some like former like defunct like huge like mega church member was like, this stuff is scientifically made to make you like really be gripping. And I was like, that's fucking crazy.
Maybe that's what Taylor Swift's doing. That's her secret.
Oh no. Yeah, well, all right.
It is a cult. We have to do the show again.
We're doing the show again. For those that don't know what we're talking about, I do a live version of this show called The People Versus. Lena was wonderful in The People Versus Nickelback, which it should be on YouTube by now. And then we also did The People Versus Taylor Swift, where Taylor Swift was accused of starting a cult with her following. She was found not guilty. Tough.
I think she should have been found guilty. That's
well, the Swifties come out in force.
I know.
Easily my highest selling show.
I'm always pro OSHA.
Yeah.
Anything OSHA says, I'm like, I agree with her.
100%. But no, Nathan Alexander knocked that one out of the park.
He did. He did a great job.
The amount of prep he put into that was what we look for in a person. But all right, man. Let's move on to Discourse, formerly known as Honest Bit, where I used to force people to roast like the album that they love. Yeah. But sometimes writing roast jokes is hard, and I do this more often than I was back when I started the show. Yeah. And so my creative juices are absolutely shot. So I don't force people to write roasts anymore. So okay, you talk about like there are some lulls, like there's like plenty of ups, but like there's lulls to keep you kind of like riding the wave a little bit. Yeah. What would you say is the weakest moment of this record?
I think for me, let me look at this list again. Oh, okay. So Silver is the second to last song, and to me that's the one. So Hey is like great. It's up there. Yeah. It's top tier song. And then Gouge Away is the last song on the album, and I think that's a solid song as well. But Silver is sort of like okay, we got too excited with Hey,
truly,
and now we need to take a nap.
Yep.
Before we're ready to like
Agreed.
leave the album. It's just like, it's fine. I'm not, I don't tend to skip it because it's probably not even that long.
It isn't.
So I'm just like, yeah, this is fine.
Right, because the album in and of itself is 15 tracks long, but it's only 39 minutes. So like, each song is kind of like quick and to the point, which I love. Classic punk vibes. But I agree that the weakest is Silver, and which leads me into our next game is like, what would you cut?
I would cut Silver.
I would cut Silver for sure. 14 tracks is plenty.
Yeah.
Whatever the 2 minutes that we're losing, I'll be all right. I'll make it. So what is like some advice you would give to the band? Like, let's play producer.
Oh boy.
So like, we're playing producer. We decided we're gonna cut it. All right. What's the advice you would give to the band of like why you cut it, and like what would you change if they wanted to keep it?
I feel like it doesn't serve the rest of the album.
Agreed.
It's just kind of a lull, and I guess if they really wanted to keep it, I would probably, they'd need to do something like Mr. Greaves, or even like Crackety Jones, which is another one that I'm not like huge on that one. They need to do something where it's like, okay, we'll take what Silver is and then flip it halfway through the song. Like, you can start with Silver, but like do something with it.
Yeah.
Don't just make it. This just sounds like they were practicing to make sure they were in tune.
Yeah. Well,
then they just kept it.
My producer note was cool it with the crooning.
Yeah.
Because like, it's just like weird voice stuff that doesn't mean a ton to me. And they're just like, it's like, like, I don't know, like, you ever like gotten a new instrument and you're just messing around with it? It sounds like total ass.
That's what I was gonna say. Have you ever been in a band?
Oh yeah.
Before? Okay, it just reminds me of like when you're like setting up for band practice, and then somebody's like, "Hey, I got a new pedal," and they're just like, "Wow, wow, 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 wow," for 7 minutes.
Yeah.
And somebody pressed record and they were like, "Keep it." It's like,
no,
we
need.
Like,
now
what's
sing
this?
what you just played. Now sing it.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay.
It's like, we have 14 other songs.
Like, no, this
like,
one's
no, but
important.
I want this one because I sound cool.
Yeah, I do wonder if there's like chaos in that band at all.
Oh, there's a lot.
Okay, like interpersonal chaos.
Yeah.
Okay, because that makes sense. All good bands should have interpersonal chaos. That's an opinion I hold very deep. And so I bet there was like a singular person in the band that was like really fighting for this one.
I'm sure it was Frank Black. It had to have been Frank Black. He's the singer.
Okay. Like, this is my art.
There's a lot of so it's there was 4 band members, and Kim Deal is the bassist and Frank Black is the singer, and I think he plays guitar too. And at one point he quit the band by faxing them at band practice. They were like at band practice, and he faxed in his resignation.
Wonderful.
And then I think they got back together again, and then Kim left, and then they were back together again, and then Kim left again, and now they have a different bassist also named Kim.
Oh, totally.
From, I forget the name of the band, but she was in another like 90s alt band.
Was it the Smashing Pumpkins?
No.
Because like, as far as girl bassists go,
they were called the somethings, and they're not super well known.
Okay.
But yeah, so they're just, I get the impression that Frank is the one. I don't know if you've ever been in a band where there's like one guy who it's his vision, everything's his vision, and we're all just there to say, okay, Frank.
Yep.
Sure. And I feel like that was
my art.
Yeah. like I think this was Frank's vision, and
they
he was
need
just like,
my
we're keeping
crooning.
it. We're keeping it.
And they're like, whatever, man, we'll make it 14th out of 15.
Yeah, they're like, just wedge it in between 2 other songs that no one's going to notice.
90% of the people aren't even going to make it to the end of the album. Who cares?
Yeah.
All right. Wait, actually, I do have a final question of this segment. It is, what is something you take away from this as a lesson of what not to do? I think there's like an important aspect of like looking at your sort of like creative idols, if you want to call them that, or like people that you look up to, and being like, what did I learn from this as to what not to do? Because I'm a younger sibling, and so thus I have basically spent the last 31 years of my life watching my sister exist. Sorry, Katie, if you're watching, and being like, I don't think I want to do that. I don't think I want to do that. You seem to have a really hard time doing that, so I am going to do something else.
That's so funny.
And so I often like I just have that vibe about me. And even with music where I'm like, I think I'd avoid that thing.
Yeah.
Like anything in your own creative work where you're like,
well, it's funny you say this because I'm also a younger sibling, but my brother is 15 years older than me.
Oh shit! All right.
So he's had like long enough. I'm not watching that. I'm watching the result of him having already figured out.
Oh, okay.
So I feel like he's a good role model, but then I'm the one that's like more likely to either like fuck shit up or just just be weirder and more chaotic. But I guess I feel like having talked about how we feel about silver, you have to keep in mind that there is an audience. Like, it's great to serve your creative needs.
Yeah.
But I think also, especially like doing comedy, a lot of people get this where they're like, but I want to do this. I have this is my thing. And it's like, cool, but you need to find the middle ground. That's like what you want to say and how people are willing to hear it.
Yeah. Like reading the room. Like there's a lot
like
of,
you can still talk about your thing. Cause like I have a lot of dark jokes that people don't like. And it's like, you have to find the right way to say it so that they're like, okay, we're on board with this.
Yeah. I talked about this in the last episode, but also cause it's a recent revelation for me is like some of my jokes only work in certain seasons. Where it's like, and you got to read the room. You need to like understand the vibe of the entire space.
Yeah.
Where's everyone at? If you're late on a long lineup, you're gonna want to do something light. You're gonna want to like not, or like if you're seeing a lot of people talk about the same thing, you're gonna want to change up.
That one's always wild. I know when you're new, it's harder, but that one's always wild to me. People like won't watch the rest of the mic or the show or whatever, and then they'll go up and then they'll say something that's already been said, and they're like, what, you guys don't like da da da? And it's like, no, we liked it when the other three guys said it before you.
Yeah.
Stay in the room. Listen to the other shit.
Yeah. And like I get the temptation to leave the room.
Yeah.
I get it. But also, at least because like the rule of thumb has been for so long is like be there for the first three before you.
Yes.
Stay for the few, like stay for the next few after. Yeah. And then you're set.
Yeah.
And like, but no, people aren't doing that these days. No. They'll just be outside.
It's just like, I'm out.
Yeah.
This is beneath me. It's like, it's beneath all of us, but we just have to get through it for God's sake.
Yeah, man. Just like, I think understanding the audience, because like I come from a user experience background. That's like where my day job led me up until like last summer. And so it's like understanding and empathizing with the audience and understanding what they need.
Yeah.
And like, do I have things that I'd love to put in this software for you? Of course. Of course we all have opinions.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you got to think of like the end user.
Right.
Which like for music is like the audience. And if you alienate them with weird songs like Silver where you're crooning all the time, you might lose a couple people, like 2 people in this room right now. who before this didn't talk about this at all and were agreed.
Right.
Like this is the sore thumb.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's it for discourse. That's it.
Sweet.
So now we're gonna move on to Turntable, which is like a little more personalized towards you and like how your relationship with the album and like just generally creativity.
Okay.
So my first one here is like this album feels a lot like chaos. What would you say is your biggest cause of chaos in your life, and how does that affect your like stand up? I know that you also do photography. Mark? Yeah. So like where like whatever creative outlet you choose to talk about is more than up to you. But what's the thing that almost forces you into these situations? Right.
Well, okay. So I think I mentioned this before we were recording. I used to, before I did stand up, I ran a sketch comedy group, and it was kind of unique in that it wasn't like Kids in the Hall or whatever, where it's like a group of 6 people. I inherited it from somebody who was running it before, and also it was forever rotating. So each month it would be anyone could submit a sketch, and then we had to pick which sketches we were doing, and anyone could apply to like act in them.
Okay.
Anyone.
Anyone off the street.
People. I mean, we had a good variety, but it was also because I inherited it. I didn't really get the final say in things. There were technically 2 people like above me, and because they weren't the ones like interacting with all these people, they wanted everyone to be happy.
Yeah.
So they never wanted to make any like rash decisions. So I had to include everybody. So it was like 20 people including a significant amount of comedians.
Yeah.
It was comedians, it was theater people, it was improv people, it was just collectively the
holy
most
triumvirate
of
the worst
insufferable
people you've ever met.
motherfuckers that I cannot. And I am not, I consider myself an introvert. Like, I'm not a people person.
Yeah.
And so I was more into the organizational aspect of it. So, imagine like trying to organize anything, but you have like 17 3-year-olds running. They can't grasp logic, and they're just
Right.
like, but why did I only get 2 roles? And it's like, you all only got 2 roles because there's 20 of you.
Yeah. This is a 4-hour show.
And and it's like, I wrote this sketch. I don't want so-and-so in my sketch. It's like, cool, I don't want either of you in my group, but we're all here and we got to fucking deal with it.
How is this organized? I have follow-up questions.
And so it was just, it was constant chaos. And I eventually realized, because I never did like theater in school, but I eventually realized this is what like stage managers do, where like their job is just to make sure it was my job to like make everyone happy and make everyone like look good in spite of what a dumb fuck every person was.
What are you, like Liz Lemon? Like,
yes, I'm 100%. Anytime I watch 30 Rock, I'm just like, I have Vietnam flashbacks, because she'll just be like, I'm going to kill you. I can't believe da-da-da. And then it just cuts to like, okay, and now we're going to film, is this your penis? Everyone in the sketch, is this your penis on stage now? I feel like it was just like a constant chaos that I adjusted to, and it made me a lot stronger as a person, and like my social skills improved greatly because of it. It was baptism by fire for sure. But yeah, that's definitely the most chaos. It's why I think I used to think I was I was way too nervous to do stand-up, because I was like, I can't get on a stage by myself. And then after like quarantine, I was like, okay, I guess once I get vaccinated, I'll go do stand-up, because we couldn't do sketch practice anymore. And then after the first time, I was like, you mean I just write my jokes and I get up and say them and they laugh at me, and nobody,
is the shit for that.
And nobody, I was like, and nobody can say shit to me. Nobody's like, hey, but where's my horns? Where's my clown shoes? And it's like, wherever the fuck you put them, it's not my problem anymore.
Yeah. I agree. Stand-up rules for that purpose, because like I have an improv background as well, and like orchestrating like improv groups is like the worst, and like trying to just get people on the same page, people like even like spiritually on the same page. Like, are we actually all aimed towards the same goal?
Right.
And like there's so much less of that with stand-up, and like yes, the cost is you're also the only person feeling consequences like when it goes poorly, like at least
for sure
in like group dynamics, like if it goes poorly, you're like, well, it was fucking Chad's fault.
Right. It was how he said the line that I wrote, not that I wrote.
It's not a dog shit line, it's the delivery.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, it's all you up there.
Right.
But the bar to entry to like just write something and perform it is so low for stand-up.
It's so much easier.
Yeah, it's so much easier. But then again, the other side of that coin is like, because the bar is so low, god damn it, you get some of the worst people alive on the stage.
Yeah. It's that thing, like anyone, because of technology, like anyone can record a podcast or an album. Anyone can record music.
Any old asshole can do this.
Which is like, cool, that's fantastic, because I don't have the equipment to like record songs, but I can get on my iPad and just like do some shit. But it also means that anybody can do it.
Yes.
And so with comedy, in theory, anyone has always been able to do comedy, but now it's just like there's the internet and social media and everything making people think, I'll just get up and riff. And it's like, you can try.
You can give it a go. Why not? I always I never tell people don't. Like if someone's like, oh, you do stand up, man, I always want to try. I'm like, I've got 5 minutes for you whenever you want it, dude.
Yeah.
Just to be like, because it's one of the last meritocracies in the world, where it's like, you're gonna want to be good. And if you aren't good, you're gonna want to be smart so you can get good.
Yes.
And it's fascinating. It was like, man, go for it. Because it's hard, it sucks sometimes, and it's just worth watching people give it a go, because so many things on the planet are like, I could do that. Most art. What they say, there's a saying that most modern art is it's I could do that, but you didn't. Like
yes, that's the difference. You didn't. Yeah,
yeah.
Anyone could do that, and it's like,
yeah.
okay, but this guy did.
Yeah, but you
and
didn't.
That's the difference. Yeah.
It's like execution is like half the battle.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I'm trying to think if I have anything like chaotic like that really sent me into like, or that really affects my creative work. Like, what's my chaos? I really like being busy.
Yeah, same.
I think that ultimately affects my creative output. Well, like it helps it.
Yeah.
Mostly because I don't like overthinking things, and so if I have like a ton of stuff I'm working on,
you don't have the time to be alone with your thoughts.
Well, I don't know if I was willing to be called out. I don't know. You came to my house.
Well,
no, I'm just like, it just feels like if I have a bunch of stuff I'm working on, then I don't overthink any of it.
Yeah.
Whereas like, cause like you could go down the rabbit hole on anything and be like, is it like, and then you start being like, is this good enough? What if I change this? What if I change this? But like,
right.
And it, like, same if you get like hit us like a stump. Like if you're stumped on something, go work on something else.
Yeah.
And then the thing that you're working on will likely inform, the thing you got stumped on, and you're like, oh, great.
Yeah.
It's like, why? Like doing stand-up, doing this show, doing the live shows, working with Commonwealth,
Yeah.
Like it's chaos, and my life is disorganized as hell. But the bright side is my creative output is pretty consistent.
Yeah.
No matter what it looks like. So that's nice. But at least I'm not crooning into a microphone.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I'm a big fan of using like hobby A as a distraction for why I'm not working on hobby B that I'm supposed to be working on.
Exactly.
So yeah, so there's still like a fulfillment there of, well, I'm getting something done. It's just not the thing that's due tomorrow.
Right. It'll be fine. No one ever died from this. Okay, so like this question kind of follows like the same thread here. This album does feel, despite it being chaotic and like there's obviously drama within the band, as you've alluded to, it does feel highly collaborative.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't sound to me like there's one, like you said, well, like Black is his last name.
Frank Black, yeah.
Frank Black is the lead singer, but there's a lot of like vocalists who aren't him.
Yeah.
And so like it is a highly collaborative album. Do you think you are a collaborative person? And if so, why? Like, or if not, why? Like, do you wish you were? I think is the follow-up question.
I think it depends. For me, it just kind of depends on like how, like what level of passion I'm at for a project.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, I never mind people giving me like feedback on my stand-up, but in general, I have a clear idea of like what I want to cover and what I want to talk about in stand-up. And then sometimes, like I've done, I think you guys have it here in Cincinnati, the 48-hour film festival.
Okay.
You get you get 48 hours to film a movie, and they give you like, you draw out of like a hat like what the genre is going to be.
Oh,
and,
wow.
And like a prop you have to use and all this stuff. I've done a couple of those, and this is nothing against the people I was with, but it was one of those things where like it became clear to me that I was like, I just need to be in charge of everything. It's too hard for me I either have to just be 100% like, we tell you what to do, you show up, Lena, and then we tell you, go stand over there, go make this prop, whatever. Yeah. But when it's like when it comes to writing, I struggle to collaborate because I feel like it's just so hard. If I'm passionate enough about an idea, it's just so hard to like give up what you think should be the plot line or whatever. Yeah. Plenty of other things I'm okay collaborating with. It has to be like, I have to be passionate enough that I want to help and be involved, but not so passionate that I'm like, it needs to be this or it's not going to work.
Yeah.
And definitely like depends on who I'm collaborating with. If it's weirdly, I don't necessarily consider myself a chaotic person, but if it's other chaotic people, I just sort of like find peace in the center of that and then let the chaos, and then it just kind of like, all right, that's fixed. We'll just put all that together and now it works. So yeah, definitely like in, cause I do all sorts of stuff, but in like sketch, I feel like sketch, it is best when it's collaborative because you have more points of view, and stand up solo definitely.
I never understood how people have writers. Or
it's
multiple writers on certain things.
It only works for like specific types of stand-up. Like, because I couldn't imagine someone writing me a joke like, "Here's a joke about how depressed you are, Lena." I'm like, I'll handle that.
First of all, you don't get to know me.
Right. But if you're just like a one-liner, or you're just doing puns, or even like, I feel like a lot of clean comedy is sort of surface level.
Yeah.
Then I can see someone being like, "Here's a pun I wrote for you to add to your list of puns." But yeah, it's hard to imagine somebody else writing a joke that I tell on stage.
Yeah, which is funny because I have written jokes for others.
Same. I've helped people with a lot of...
yeah, here you go. And like, like when it works, you're like, yeah, I got you, bro.
Right.
Bro, I know you, dog.
Yeah.
But like if someone like offers me something, I'm like, okay.
Mm-hmm. You don't know me.
Yeah, you don't know me.
Even though I just talked for 25 minutes about the worst parts of me.
My prideful ass, yeah. I always like, I never call myself collaborative because like I'm always the guy that's like, I'd rather just be alone. Or like work alone. Like I'm trying to get better at it because like I was forced to in like my corporate job. Like it's like you do have to work with the other people. There's more people that have a say than just you.
Right.
And I'm like, that's cool and all, but also it's just development hell at a certain point.
For sure.
Like,
yeah, because it's everyone, especially like, God, when I was in a band, we wanted to change our name, and it was this thing where like everyone, I eventually realized we will never settle on a name because all four of us wants to be the guy who came up with the name we went with.
No. Yeah.
And it's like, so it's whenever someone's thinking about starting a band, my first piece of advice is come up with the name and then ask people, do you want to be in my band that's called this? Don't give them if you don't give them the option, they'll just be like, yeah, that's cool, I'll be in your band. Don't be like, I haven't decided on a name yet, because then everyone's going to be like, I've got the name.
Well, that feels like similar to like having ideas in general. Like
Yeah.
you're going to want to clean it up before you tell someone about it.
Yeah.
Like it's like, if
Never
you
tell someone what you naming that baby before you have the baby.
Exactly. It's like, you're going to want to keep the babe in Egypt. Like, I don't like, you're going to want to hide that baby.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be killed.
Yeah.
By like opinions you're not willing to to deal with.
Right.
And like, if you're not sure enough about your idea, don't tell people, because then you're never going to be sure about your idea.
And they're going to ruin your confidence and you're never going to do it.
Right. Yeah. So like you got to wait like a certain amount of time to tell people stuff.
Yeah.
Unless you trust them, and like, but like the trust building process is so long.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm trying to think of a time where I was like truly collaborative, because like even in the live show, I just send those emails and I'm like, all right, here you go.
That's true. Because I was going to say, well, okay, yeah, because that's not necessarily like collaborative, but I feel like you're good at giving people their space. You're like, here's your character, and then I'll see you when you have it ready.
See you on the show date. Yeah. See you on the show date. But like, that's also like halfway out of necessity, because like if you
tried to write everyone's shit.
That'd be the worst. And I was like, I'm going to have to trust you to do this thing. Don't let me down.
Yeah.
And so that's been good. But even then, like, I'm just like, boop-a-doop-a-doop in my room. And I'm like, and email sent.
Yeah.
What else have I collaborated on? Because like, I don't know. It brings me back to the comment I made earlier, where it's like the best bands are like discordant in themselves. Like Blink-182's best work happened when they all hated each other.
Yeah.
And that's because they're forced to compromise.
Right.
And
so it's everyone at their most individual, but at the point where they can all meet.
And like they all probably hate every song, because like the sign of a good compromise is no one's happy.
Right.
And so like, it's like I bet every song is like, man, fuck that song.
Yeah.
Like Mark,
can't believe he played bass that way.
Mark fucking ruined that song. And it's like my favorite thing on the planet. 'Cause I'm not even close to like the process.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, because like the last time something was truly successful that was like extremely discordant in my life, I have no idea. Because like I don't know if I have like the discomfort tolerance to get through to the other side.
It's hard.
And then feel proud after the fact.
Right. Usually when it's like that, by the end of it, I'm like, well, it's over. I don't have to do this again if I don't want to.
It could be beloved. It could be beloved by others, but I'm like, well, you weren't even there.
Yeah.
This is my fucking Normandy, dude.
Right.
Like,
it's like, you don't know what we went through to get here.
You don't know what parts of my soul I had to fucking chop out. And it's like a dick joke.
Yeah.
I put my soul into that dick joke, man. Okay. Currently, or actually, excuse me, my handwriting, dog shit. Creatively, what is one thing you'd like to steal from the Pixies and put in your own work?
I think so. Something I struggle with personally is like going all the way with an idea. Like I tend to hold back. A lot of it's just like, fear of looking silly, fear of looking crazy, fear of looking too weird. Especially in my stand-up. Like I have so many ideas for stuff where I'm like, I can't sell this on stage yet. I don't have the confidence to sell it on stage. Versus I feel like with the Pixies, and particularly like Frank Black's vocals, he fucking goes for it. He's like, yeah, I am
Silver.
fucking crazy. You're right. Or even like, in particular, I'm thinking of like Debaser. Cause like when I sing along to Debaser in the car, I'm not giving it the energy that Frank Black does. And the song wouldn't work if you just sang those lyrics.
Just softly.
Right.
I want to know.
So yeah, like the ability to just like fully commit to being crazy.
Yeah. What do I want from the Pixies? I do want, I guess, like that sort of angry collaboration, like that.
Yeah,
sort of like
that meeting in the middle.
Well, like the contention of like, I guess like the resolve to like work through stuff with people, because like the thing is like it's such an easy thing to be like, you know what?
Right. No. Right, and so many things like just don't happen because of it. It's just like I'm not working with him. Fuck it.
Yeah, and or having the resolve or the respect of someone, like I don't know, like so many things that would have to go right. Like you would have to have like years of respecting the person to argue with them respectfully and like get through it. Yeah. And I don't think I have like there's like so few of those relationships in my life where like I was like we can was it like the therapy term for it? It's like break and repair or something like that.
Oh
or, like,
yeah.
Or like I was like no, I'm so conflict avoidant that I'm just like we just like won't.
Right.
like you don't have to repair it if you never wreck it.
Yeah.
And so I think that's like what I would want is like to have the resolve with literally anyone to disagree and then come back and like have it and have that fear inside my heart of like they hate me now.
Yeah.
Like have that go away.
You know what this makes me think of is do you ever listen to Ran So Far with Blake?
I see the clips.
Okay, where like I didn't mean to like put you on blast like that. No, but because they don't
watch this
because they have they'll never know we said this. They have that relationship where it's like how like when you're hanging out with your friend and they say something that is maybe you're laughing the hardest you ever have, but also you're like, man, fuck you. I fucking hate you for this. And that's kind of their dynamic. And I doubt they actually hate each other. But, one of them will just say something. The other one's like, man, fuck you. That's the worst thing I've ever heard. And I feel like that's like the comedy equivalent of all that chaos.
I have so I call my non-comedy friends muggles.
Okay. Problematic.
The M word. No, but I call them as like, so like when I hang out with my muggle friends, they are like amongst the most fun I have. Like, it is the funniest I feel. Yeah. Or like the funniest and like, just cause like we just know each other so well. Yeah. And like, like before like memes were a thing, we would quote movies to each other. Yeah. If the moment called for it. And that was meme culture before meme culture was a thing. Yeah. And one of our favorite quotes is from The Wolf of Wall Street where like someone like doesn't understand what book he's referencing, and he's like, from the book, motherfucker. He's like, turn your fucking brain on. Like we say that shit to each other like all the time. Yeah. Like, turn your fucking brain on. Like we're so mean. Like if I said that to someone like in a checkout line who's not doing the thing right,
they'd be like, oh my God, what's his problem?
Yeah, turn your fucking brain on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I just need collaborative people who are like, then again, I think about it and like most people I hang out with are mean to me in some way. Yeah. To a point where it affected my relationship where like where she's like nice to me and I'm like, I don't trust
this
you.
Is wrong.
Yeah, this is wrong.
She wants something.
Yeah. Or when he was like, no. Stop it. She's getting better. She's getting better. she'll still say "aw" when she says something mean.
Bless.
We need more people like her, but geez. All right, what else do I have here? Okay. As the final question of the show, we've made it to the end. Congratulations.
Yay.
Is there a part of your life specifically that this album would be the soundtrack to? And if so, why? Maybe it hasn't been in the past, but like maybe if you, in retrospect, if you were to like look at a portion of your life and be like, this is it.
Oh man. Okay, a specific part of my life that
that this would fit to.
Gosh. Man, this is like deeper than I was prepared for.
Oh,
but
fair.
It's a great question.
Sign of doing my job right.
I mean, I don't know necessarily the why, but I do feel like my late teens, early mid 20s, like that decade span, I feel like sort of a mix of like chaos and like not knowing, you know, I didn't really know what I was doing in those years. And it's like I sort of had an idea of what I wanted to do, but I had all these different, you know, hobbies and interests, and I was doing all sorts of different things. And I don't know. I feel like it's a good, the album's like a good representation of just sort of like being all over the place, but you know, within like a framework, sort of.
Yeah, it does have like an adolescent vibe to it.
Yeah, it's like not quite pop punk, but it is sort of that like lighthearted, like we're just here, no consequences.
Right, like so not quite pop punk in the sense that it's like whiny or fratty, because like that seems to be the two lanes that like pop punk splits into.
Yeah.
Speaking as a pop punk fan, like I'm a self-aware person. I know, because like you go the Blink-182 route, fratty. You go like My Chemical Romance, a little more whiny.
Yeah.
But I love both of those bands equally. Like Fall Out Boy's in there somewhere. But this has like adolescent vibe to it, but like in adolescent, if you're an art kid, who's like hates life less than your average emo listener.
Yeah.
But it's still like a weird life to live.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think of like what era of my life was that the most
right.
Like. And I think I agree, probably like your late teens, early 20s, where you're like, okay.
It's like slightly rebellious, but in like a safe way, but not in the way that like trust fund kids are like rebellious in a safe way, which that to me is more like the frattier pop punk is that sort of vibe. This is more just like theater kid, art kid.
You think that, because like when I think of like theater kid music, I think of the band Fun.
Yeah, definitely.
The kids who wear like vests to school.
Yeah.
Or Panic at the Disco, even like early Panic at the Disco before it was just Brendan Urie doing whatever.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah. Like, okay, so like what movie do you think would be like this album would be a good addition to?
Ooh.
Because you said you're a movie person.
I am a movie person. Oh, what would be? I did mention that I watched a lot of Tarantino. I almost feel like you could revision, like, I want to say Pulp Fiction.
Interesting.
And put the Pixies over it. It'd have a totally different vibe.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I feel like you could match up. There's enough like ups and downs and different sort of
that does make me
moods.
Think that like everyone in that movie should be younger if you were to do this.
Yeah.
But that also brings to mind that they probably are younger than I think they are, because everyone who's ever been in things that are before my time.
Right. You're like, damn, they're old. And then you're like, oh, they're my age.
Yeah. Oh, no. Or worse. You're like, you find out John Travolta's like 25 in that movie or some shit. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
Or what
like,
do you mean?
The one for me is finding out any parents on any TV show I watched when I was a kid. And I'm like, I'm older than them? I'm older than Stu and Dee Dee Pickles. Fuck my life.
No. They look terrible for their age. They look awful. Well, like that's like George Costanza in Seinfeld.
He's like in his early 30s.
Yeah, he's like, I'm 33, and I'm like, bro, what? I'm 31. I'm a child.
Yeah.
someone in the comments of the Bob Dylan episode with Alex Leeds was complaining that like I made him feel I should say, I don't know who this person is. I made them feel old because I was saying that I was in the second grade during 9/11.
Okay.
And he's like, it's crazy to me that a grown man with a beard who was a child
that's how aging works, dog.
But I was like, because he's like, my brain came to a screeching halt. And I was like, my brain came to a screeching halt when you called me a grown man. I am a child.
I'm just a little baby.
Yeah, what's mine? Yeah. I'm a small bean.
Sir, how dare you harass a minor this way in the comments?
I know. How dare you? First of all, he was like, grown man with a beard. I was like spinning for a second. I was like,
who's he talking about?
Yeah, being referred to as a grown man with a beard because I, in my head, have a different version of a grown man with a beard.
Yes,
yeah. And sometimes because like I don't look at myself all that often, so I don't know how I look to people.
Right.
It doesn't. I shouldn't be intimidating, but maybe I am. I should not be. My feelings get hurt too often to be intimidating.
Yeah.
But that's all I had for questions. So if you are interested in giving this album a spin, I highly recommend you do so. It is a good one. Lena, what would you rate this album out of 10?
Ooh, out of 10. I think I give it, oh gosh, 8.5?
8.5? Okay.
Yeah.
New question. Uh-huh. What album is ahead of it and what album is behind it?
Just out of any albums ever?
Out of any albums ever.
I would put the Golden Age of the Wireless by Thomas Dolby above it. And what would be behind it? Honestly, I would put, if I can pick another Pixies album, Surfer Rosa, I would put that right behind it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Because I feel like they're like neck and neck, but I feel like Doolittle is just like a stronger, as a whole, album. Even though Surfer Rosa maybe has some songs I like better.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna narrow my list, like just be like albums that I've either that are either displayed here or I've done on the show.
Okay.
So I think if I were to rank this album amongst like two other ones, kind of sandwich it, I would put this album right here, The Dream Is Over by Pup, like ahead of it because it's highly influenced. Like I can tell, this band has been highly influenced by the Pixies, I'm sure. And but it's a little more modern, and like a little more my era of people. Yeah. And I like that. It resonates with me heavily just because it's like, we're 30 and everything sucks.
Yeah.
And then like behind it, I'd probably put like the Icarus line, like Carl's album, Penance Soiree.
Carl's bursting into flames right now.
He doesn't know because he's
won't
never going to watch it.
But right now he's bursting into flames.
He's never going to watch it, but he woke up and he's like, I'm going to be fucking mean to David tonight. It just got worse. But just right behind it because I resonated with this a little more than I did the Icarus line. But again, it's they all feel like they're in the same family. Yeah. And because even if you listen to the Icarus line, even Joe Cardamom's voice sounds a little bit like Frank Black. Yeah. Why not keep wanting to say Jack Black, which sucks.
He to be fair, he kind of looks like he's a round man.
Rotund guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Because Carl got pissed when I said the Icarus line sounds like Jet.
Oh, okay.
Are you gonna be my girl? Yeah. That was a fun text to send him. But that is it for today's episode. Thank you so much for coming on. Do you have anything coming down the pike that you'd like to tell anyone about? This is probably gonna come out early February.
Gosh, I don't have a whole lot going on right now. I know I'm gonna be at. Oh, I should have had this ready beforehand.
Oh, no worries.
I am going to be at, I'm doing the Pro-Am at Go Bananas on March 12th.
Heck yeah.
So if anybody local is watching,
hit the nanners.
They can come see me do a hot 5 minutes.
Ayo.
And hopefully not bomb at the Pro-Am.
All right, that's awesome. She's again. I will reiterate that she was in the People vs. Nickelback as the wonderful character of your grandma.
It was so fun.
It was chaos. But that's on YouTube now. Check out anything Lena's done. Do you have anything online that people should check out? Put in the description.
They can follow if they follow me on Instagram. It's Lena Beamish.
Perfect.
I do all kinds of. I don't really post comedy clips, but I do weird photo stuff and art, all kinds of stuff. So
Heck yeah.
yeah.
Well, perfect. Thanks so much for coming on. If you made it this far in the video, first of all, congratulations. The metrics are against you. You are rare amongst people. At this point, the only person I know that makes it this far is Andy. Shout out, Andy. But if you've made it, like, comment, subscribe. It helps me so much. It helps me know that people are out there and watching. So I would love to see that more often. But for that's it. That's all I got, gang. So we'll see you in the next one. Peace out.